And it's only a question of what do we see for the final two. For the 2019 CSI Shocks Fall Series in its 15 over division, it's seen a lot of comers and goers, attrition, and battles up at the front. But the question is, as we enter the pre-ultimate round of the season, who will come away with the championship? It all comes down to these final two rounds, starting with this evening here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the virtual Kokomo Speedway in Kokomo, Indiana for the fourth race of the 2019 CSI Shocks Fall Series 15 and over class season. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Chris Bobby. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Now, as the drivers prepare on the circuit for this evening's action, we have a special guest to discuss our track details. Joining us this evening is the rear-wheel track announcer for Kokomo Speedway and Kalamazoo Speedway, Jason Seltzer. Jason, thank you very much for joining us for tonight's action. What can you tell us about this Indiana-based circuit?
Hey guys, I appreciate the opportunity to swing in here and see what's going on, kind of offer a little insight. Boy, this place, the Kokomo Speedway, what is known as Indiana's baddest bull ring, just an absolute great venue for short track racing, and looking forward to hosting the midgets here tonight. The track record was set in real life by Dylan Welsh last April 5th at a 12.665. We'll see what happens. Another announcer that I work with, Rob Goodman, refers to the Kokomo Speedway as Adult Swim, and that's what it's all about. You kind of got to put your big boy pants on and come to play at Kokomo, Indiana's baddest bull ring. So we got some big races coming up. The 24th, and you can find all that information at .net. It's going to be real interesting whether you work the high side of the racetrack. A lot of momentum up there. Dave Darlin line, if you will. He's pretty legendary for trying to knock the concrete down in the corners, or the side, maybe the Shane Cottle line, and making it work and low. So we'll see what happens. Justin Grant, your defending sprint car track champion, but the midgets, and absolutely great. 2019, the 2020 off, and if you haven't been to Kokomo, I highly recommend you guys do that. Like to. We got a big race weekend, Saturday the 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th, and you all like free. I guarantee you do. ATK night, get your to Kokomo. It is absolutely free to come in, and if that doesn't talk you, I don't know what will. So looking forward to this. I appreciate you guys for letting me come in, and you guys are going to be very, very entertained. These racers got some work to get things figured out and sorted out here tonight. Track looks great. Reese O'Connor, I'm sure, has this bad boy prepared top notch as always. And that right there is where you want to be at the end of the night, parked on that important concrete. Brian Clausen Memorial, kind of tribute to him. That's where you want to be at the end of the night, on that concrete.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Jason. I was glad to hear from you, and thank you very much for your time for tonight's racing action, for the description of this racing circuit. Again, that was Jason Seltzer. We apologize if there was any audio technical issues, but it's going to be an absolutely entertaining race. And he described it a lot right there, Chris, about this racetrack. There are a lot of unique features, including, especially as they mentioned, that cushion where some drivers could knock the fence down this evening.
That's right, Justin. There is a lot of space to run. This is a quarter-mile track, but there is all kinds of room out here for drivers taking the inside, the outside, whatever way seems to work. We're going to have a lot of variety out there.
You're now looking at your race details for tonight, presented by Competition Suspension Incorporated. CSI has become the shock of choice for many of today's top professionals, with over 5,000 races and many track regional and national championships around the world. To learn more, visit competitionsuspension.com. As mentioned at the top of the broadcast, second to last round of 5 as we get set for this Dirt Midget race with fixed setups. Remember, the top 12 qualifiers from the qualifying session taking place in just under 10 minutes. Immediately go into the A main. They will then be shuffled around in that point. Then afterwards, the top 3 from any heats will then be punched forward. Should note, if there is just one heat, it is the top 6. It's going to be an interesting night for racing, to say the very least here, because it has been a competitive one so far, Chris, with a lot of craziness, especially in the mid-pack.
Yeah, I mean, you look it up front, it's been a blistering quick speed out of Austin Irvine, just about becoming a regular thing here week in and week out. But this field is very close, and I think we're going to see some great racing here this evening.
Austin Irvine actually on top of the pylon with the 12.630. That's actually quicker than the real-world track record set by Dylan Welch, as talked about by Jason Seltzer. Emerson Exum working tonight with Rumsey, in fact, in the second spot. Stewart, Bruno, Sylvester rounding out the top 5. Got to keep an eye, though, on a lot of these other drivers, though, outside of Irvine, because Harry Stewart, he's been consistently up inside the top 5 when he's been able to keep his Dirt Midget clean so far, that Australian.
Yeah, there's just been so many drivers that have been very quick this season. And, also we had somebody like Harry Stewart that had a night the previous week that probably wasn't up to his normal standard. So he's going to be trying to fight back as well and make sure to make up for that one bad race he had.
Yeah, finished in 10th in the in the feature race, I should mention, for round number 3 of the season here. So what are your expectations for this race tonight as we continue to prepare for the racetrack? It was talked again about, Jason, what to expect in terms of the racing lines. What else are you expecting in terms of how this racing could develop here at Kokomo Speedway tonight?
Well, I think we are in store for some very exciting racing. I thought I had an idea what I was expecting, but then Jason came on here and kind of pumped me up a little bit about what we're going to see here at a track like this. And hopefully at the end of the day, everybody had fun and they can say thank you for being a friend.
Yeah, that is an interesting point to say at the very least. Everyone hoping that it stays nice and clean and don't end up like a couple of those Dirt Midgets you may have just seen out of the exit of turn number 4. But again, with this championship, it could get very interesting. At this point, these drivers trying to fight for potential spots. Remember, there is a drop week for this championship, and for many of the drivers, they cannot afford a bad round tonight because of the ups and downs of the season so far.
It's one of the really interesting psychological aspects of a series that has a drop week such as this one. You're not so much worried about your peaks, you're more worried about your valleys, because you can have one bad night, but really you can't have a night that's worse than that, because then that bad night just became a terrible night, because that's going to count for your championship. So there's all this added pressure on you to maintain and beat what was your worst. And I think that's going to be something that probably plays in the back of the mind of some of these drivers.
In your opinion, which type of driver does this track suit in terms of Kokomo? Does it suit the driver who is more aggressive and looks to slide job their way up towards the front, or someone who might be the more patient of the driver?
This track, probably more so than a lot of the dirt tracks, can be grumpy. That may be the best way to put it. You're running out there right next to the wall, whereas a lot of tracks maybe have a little bit more runoff area. You're right up against the concrete when you're on the outside. So this is a track you got to romance a little bit. Take it to dinner, treat it nice, hope for the best. This isn't a track that you can just throw around and expect it to work the way you want it to. You really have to race the track. You have to keep your head on a swivel, and you really have to keep your focus here, because without it, you could end up in the concrete or even worse, on your lid.
Let's talk about the nice track conditions for tonight for a moment. 78 degrees Fahrenheit is the air temp. 71 degrees is your track temp for tonight. And we follow on board with some of the drivers. As no usual, wind in the minimal moments of 2 miles an hour to the north. Humidity at 56% for tonight. That's been around the ballpark where it's been for each of the circuits so far on the season, Chris. How do you think these drivers will adapt as this night continues to progress?
The changing track conditions are definitely always something to keep in the back of your mind, but these drivers have proven to be really adept at figuring out how to maintain pace on the changing track conditions. So I think we'll see some guys searching around and finding grip where they can, and I think they should be pretty quick to adapt, especially at a track as fun as this one.
Which of the drivers do you think are going to be the ones to watch outside of the Irvines and company? Who are you keeping an eye on to be contenders this evening?
I think with the way the invert's set up, you really got to look at the drivers that are more towards the back of, more towards the mid-pack, like the guys that you're going to see that are running probably between like 8th and 12th in the practice order, because those are going to be the guys that could very well end up being the ones that start up front. And while we've seen a lot of passing in these dirt races here for the midgets, I think the advantage of starting up front could play a role here, especially if we have a race that maybe gets a couple cautions going on.
Indeed, these drivers have about a minute or so until qualifying gets underway here. Once again, the pace for these drivers in the 12.6s to 13.3s, but as to be expected, this track is going to continue to get dried out. And the more it dries out, the slower the times. Right now, some drivers are going in the 13 seconds in the 14 flats on the long run. It's going to be the question of who's going to come away with the checker flag. Just about to get underway for qualifying as we get all set to go here from Kokomo. While we have the chance, why don't we take a look at tonight's qualifying details presented by PitLogic. PitLogic's the most comprehensive chassis and shock setup application on the market, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. You can also check it out at competitionsuspension.com/CSI/logic-app. Again, qualifying, just 3 laps, 5 minutes to set your times. Top 12 move on to the A main directly. They will then be randomized from that point. Track state automatically begins at 25% on the racetrack. Let's put it to perspective right now. These drivers started with a clean racetrack for practice. They dried out the track in just the span of about 20-30 minutes of practice and warm-up. They're ready to go on the track for qualifying as the track is prepared to go here from Kokomo. And already the first of the drivers coming out, Chase Randall, the first of the drivers getting ready in the cockpit and onto the circuit. Chase Randall set a 12.736 as his fastest time in practice. That was amongst the top drivers in the sessions. He's trying to run the middle to bottom line on lap number 1 here, Chris.
Well, it does make sense. I mean, that's the shortest distance around the track, right?
Indeed, and that time at 13 flat. And do you think he's trying to build up momentum before he heads up towards the cushion to try and get the fastest lap? Remember, the fastest laps have been on lap number 2 so far, as that one's actually slower on his second.
I think a lot of it could be just searching around, trying to find what feels comfortable.
And right now, his time's not looking too great. Lost a 1/10 of a second each time by. The fastest time of the moment, already Hunter Crum with the 12.7. Axum with the 12.736 in second at the moment. Well, Harry Stewart is in 4th. You're taking a look at Crum. He is already off the racetrack inside the top 5. Irvine also bumps his way forward. Stewart already preparing warm-ups. Already most of the drivers have put in at least one qualifying lap already. Believe it or not, that's how quick this qualifying session is going, as Jake Erickson puts himself in a wheelie coming to the green flag for qualifying.
How about that lap by Brennan Rogers, though? A 12.527, almost 2/10 clear of second place right now.
That is a blistering quick time from Rogers. Rogers competing in the iRacing USAC World Championships earlier this fall. He's on top of the board by about a 1/10 and a half. You're following along with Erickson. He's in the bottom portion of the board, however. 14 trying to bump up his time. Loses control on lap number 3 at 12.958, though. Does put him inside the top 12 cushion, but just barely, Chris.
Yeah, these guys are fighting it out to be locked into that top 12. That's the money position, so to speak.
And already every single driver is put in a qualifying lap, and just halfway through this session, your top 12 drivers: Rogers, Crum, Axum, Irvine, Stidham, Bruno, Stewart, Mulhaffey, Hunter Brady, Kenny Miller, Jake Erickson, and Roman Gephardt have all punched their tickets directly into the A main. And the fastest of them all, Brendan Rogers, with that blistering 12.527, Chris. That is a tenth and a half quicker than the rest of the field.
Yeah, that puts a whole different definition on bad fast around this track.
How do you think he's going to be, though, with the invert? Because we've seen many times the pole sitter ends up being in the middle of the pack, and it's difficult to try and cut your way through the field as you look on board with some of the cars.
Well, I'll throw back to my line about romancing the bull ring. You got to be able to handle traffic. That's going to be the name of the game. If that invert's deep and you're starting way back in 12th or so, even if you're that quick, you still got to get around the cars. So you're going to have to be able to duck and dive and dodge and really keep your head on a swivel and keep your nose clean, because we've seen these races can get a little caution heavy if these drivers get greedy. So for somebody like Brendan Rogers that has a bad fast ride tonight, he's really going to have to try to keep his nose clean and get her pointed straight.
One thing to note here, 18 drivers are set to take the heat to the green flag for tonight overall for the session. That means that the heat will essentially decide the running order for the drivers when they go to the main. And let's take a look at how they'll sort things out as they take to the racetrack right now to set up for your starting grid. These drivers were just a touch bit outside of the top 12. Chase Randall about a couple 100ths outside of that top player. He starts on the pole. Jason Bright a 1/1000th of a second behind him in second. Will Sylvester starts in third. Bryson Smith in fourth. Joey Ancona in fifth. And it's going to be Bull Stencil rounding up the six drivers. Sam Johnson up inside race control for tonight's action. Once again, it will be a full field of 18 drivers. These machines, though, going to be battling for 15 laps as we look at your PitLogic race details in just this moment. And it's going to be less pressure. Normally, it's a top three who move on from the heat race. However, because of the amount of drivers registered for tonight's action, these drivers will essentially be battling for track position for the feature. What does that mean if you're one of the drivers on the racetrack here, knowing you're still fighting for at least 13th on the track, but you're at least punched into the show?
Well, I think racing for the win here, there's definitely a confidence aspect to it, a pride aspect to it, and just breaking it down into simple mathematics here, it's a lot easier to pass 12 cars than it is to pass 18.
Real quickly, who are you keeping an eye on here for this heat race?
I think look for a strong performance out of Joey Ancona. Got a good feeling about the 88 ride tonight. Jason Bright looking good as well. And Will Sylvester. That's just a fun name to say. So hopefully he's up in the mix so we can talk about him a whole lot.
iRacing official pace truck is off the circuit. Chase Randall in control of the field. And the CSI number 9 machine. Green flags up at the stand. We're underway for heat racing from Kokomo. Randall already attacking the berm of the racetrack. Slides up to the middle bottom. Bright trying to go 3 wide as he charges up along the cushion. Can he carry momentum on the outside, making contact at the stripe? First lap that time led by Randall as the drivers slide their way up the circuit.
Justin, we were nearly 4 wide there for a second, and that is just absolutely stupid.
Already these drivers fighting hard for position. Slide job for second, and Kona can't complete it. Falls back by 5 car lengths. Bright hits the back end of Randall. Has the momentum, though, as he takes the lead of the stripe. Tries to pull off the slide job, cuts off the 9. That holds up the 9 machine of Randall's momentum as he drops to 4th position. As they go 3 wide for second, contact for second. 2 cars get wedged. Stencil making contact with Sylvester as they continue to slide. Randall making contact in the middle of the pack.
In the meantime, Jason Bright shining over the field here as he is now battling it out at the top of the field.
And Bright already up in front by 1.2 seconds as he rides right along that cushion. And Chris, he was committed to that from the second the green flag dropped, and it worked for him. That amount of momentum, as talked about in the pre-race, is just helping so much for him to pull away. He is pulling away 3/10 a lap at the moment.
Yeah, that's one driver that's not afraid of that concrete wall. Jason Bright hanging it out there high, wide, and handsome, and doing a pretty good job, if I do say so myself.
He does have pressure, though, slowly creeping in from Ancona, who is trading back and forth faster lap times. That time, though, Ancona went a bit too high off of turn 2, nearly scrubbed the rear tires alongside the cushion. Right now, the gap between him and first, 2 seconds, as the fastest lap of the race just set by Bright up in front.
Yeah, we're closing in on 5 laps remaining in this one. And Jason Bright, so far been the star of the show. Almost 2.5 second advantage over the field right now.
Car in front of Ancona's Will Sylvester is a lap machine in the 5th spot, who nearly slides up as you look at the back of the Bright. Coming to 3 laps to go this time by. And since he got to the lead quickly on that pass with Chase Randall, he's been able to take over this heat race along that cushion. Gap is now 3 seconds as you look at Stencil. He is trying as hard as he can to try and reel in second spot, but 2 to go for the race leader this time by. And since Jason Bright took that lead, he has looked very comfortable and has stuck to the cushion. The 68 machine takes the white flag. The Sellers Race Wings machine looking to take it home. Out of turns 3 and 4, rides along the cushion once more. He'll start 13th in the feature and win the heat race at Kokomo. Second spot, Ancona. Stencil finishes in 3rd. Smith starts in 4th. Sylvester in 5th. And Chase Randall finishes multiple laps down in 6th after contact in the middle of the pack. A heck of a heat race to begin the racing action of the schedule this evening. That means our field is officially set in terms of its running order, and it's going to be an interesting race because a lot of the fast guys tonight, Chris, when we look at the official overall running order, you'll see are going to be up at the front of the field.
That's going to make for a very competitive run there towards the front with some of our top guys right in the mix from the start. As the Macho Man Randy Savage likes to say, the cream rises to the top. So we're going to see that in action tonight.
Christian Bruno, one of those drivers looking to start at the front row, for example. He came in tonight in the estimated top 3 in the standings and is someone that has been consistently finishing inside the top 7. He's going to be someone to keep an eye on. He was one of the fastest drivers in practice as well. But at the opposite end of the spectrum, you have guys like Rogers, as expected, starting in the middle of the pack, where it's going to be very hectic. You can see something hecticness already as these drivers get used to the track state carrying over from the heat race.
Yeah, and the track looked very racy in that heat race too, so I'm excited to see these guys getting in action for the feature with a track that looks like it's in pretty good shape.
3.5 minutes until the green flag for tonight's feature race for the CSI Shocks Fall Series 15 and over division. Who are your favorites to keep an eye on for tonight's racing action?
Well, I mean, we had a driver that set a lap that was almost 2/10 quicker than everybody else in qualifying. So Brennan Rogers, I think, is, if he can negotiate the traffic, I think he's going to be the favorite to win.
And who do you think is going to be some of the potential underdogs of this race? Because again, an 18-car field and some of the better cars in qualifying starting at the very back of the field now.
You know, I know he didn't quite make it based on speed into the A main, but Jason Bright ran a great line in that heat race. And I think if he can keep it up there and, you know, if everything works out in his favor, I think we could see him towards the front. We also got people like Hunter Brady, Sean Mahaffey, and of course Harry Stewart, can't count him out at all. just these drivers that have so many laps in these cars, both real world and in the iRacing service as well. And gosh, we've reached a point with this series where there's just so many different drivers that can be a threat to win at any given time, and I'm just excited to be here along for the ride.
Let's take a look at your race details presented once again by Competition Suspension Incorporated real quickly. Once again, tonight's distance for the feature, 40 laps, 20 minutes max for the drivers on the track, fixed setups. There are caution flags in the feature race, as to be compared with the heat race where there is no yellow flags. And we have seen some interesting races. We did see one green flag to checker flag race so far in the fall series in the 14 and under division at the dirt track at Charlotte last week. Your thoughts on that potential tonight, because we've seen the potential of attrition come up in the middle of the pack, as we talked about a couple times throughout the season, and there's a chance based on what we've seen it could happen tonight.
I think you bring up a really good point. This is a quarter-mile track. It's very wide and very many lines that these drivers can use to stay out of trouble. But in the end, it's a lot of guys racing for the same pieces of real estate. And I think this could potentially have the possibility of being one of those attrition-filled races where we have a hefty amount of cautions. And if that's the case, I think it's going to favor the guys starting in the first couple rows, because it makes it a lot harder for the competition to work their way up when they have less laps to use to work their way up.
Your quick keys to trying to come away with a victory tonight.
Step 1, keep your nose clean. Step 2, be smart about negotiating traffic. Step 3, profit.
We'll see who can come away with profit tonight, because remember, the grand prize for this championship is a Samsung tablet with PitLogic on board and $500 in shock package discounts. That all worth $750 from CSI Shocks. Second place, an apparel pack along with $250 in shock package discounts. Third place, the same apparel pack but a $100 shock package discount. We'll see how these drivers take to the track for tonight's feature race for the 40-lap distance, as we get all set to go for your starting grid live from Kokomo Speedway. Drivers now making their way onto the track as the stands are full. Let's take a look at how they'll sort out for tonight. On the pole this evening, it'll be Christian Bruno. He'll start alongside Cody Stidham. In row number 2, it's Austin Irvine and Emerson Axum. Hunter Cram starts in 5th spot. Brendan Rogers, he shuffled to 6th spot due to the invert. Harry Stewart starts in 7th. Sean Malhaffey in 8th position. Hunter Brady in 9th. And rounding the top 10, one of your favorites at the dirt track at Charlotte, and Kenny Miller. He'll start outside row 5, Chris.
Outside of the top 10, you got Jake Erickson and Roman Gephardt. And then your heat race winner, Jason Bright, will start lucky number 13. Joey Ancona, Bo Stenzel, Bryson Smith, Will Sylvester, and Chase Randall will complete your 18-car field.
That's a look top to bottom at your starting grid tonight here on the Global Sim Racing channel for tonight's coverage of the CSI Shocks Fall Series 15 and over division. Again, it'll be Christian Bruno in control of the field in that 17 machine. He'll start on the inside line. Outside, Axum has talked about a little bit. He's actually working with Logan Rumsey, one of the drivers we have seen compete a part of these championships this season. We'll see if that assistance helps him tonight. iRacing official pace truck is off. Green flag waiting towards the stand. Bruno brings them through 3 and 4. He hits the low pedal. We're underway from Kokomo. Bruno rides the bottom side already. Multiple drivers jumping to the cushion, while others drop right at the bottom of the racetrack. 3 wide for 2nd spot. Rogers trying to ride the cushion already in that 4th position. First lap goes to Bruno as the caution comes out of the back. First yellow of the race involves Chase Randall. Did not involve Chase Randall. Involved a spin in front of Randall that collected him in the end with Jake Erickson for the first yellow flag of the night. Chris, let's break down this replay.
Yeah, it's a tough break for all these drivers involved really early in the event. You can see everybody 3-4 wide, and unfortunately, looks like you may have caught a rut or something, because the car just kind of took off on them, and they started bouncing off each other, and unfortunately that's going to send you around with these open-wheeled cars.
Now let's take another look here. Ericsson was already in a bit of a wheelie and a 3-wide battle in for that position at the back of the pack. Then you see right there, that contact with the left rear tire sends him around at about a 360. To the back of the field goes Jake Ericsson. These drivers do have one fast repair available if they so need it. And this is a very tiny pit lane for these drivers to deal with, so you have to come out very quickly. These drivers already have the lights out on the pace car. Very quick pace laps as well with this circuit. Christian Bruno still up at the front, but Austin Irvine moved up to second with the time of the caution flag. Bruno brings them back to the green flag once again at Kokomo. Already 3 wide for the race lead. Bruno over-rotates in the middle, able to get momentum off the corner though as Axum tries to attack. On the cushion, they fight near 3 wide. Irvine trying to check up on the high side as they go side by side for the race lead. Axum trying to get clear, does down the back straightaway.
Well, we got some very interesting interpretations of this track, Justin. Drivers 3 and 4 wide around the Speedway caution out.
And this one is for Roman Gephardt down the front stretch, upside down. He got hit by a few drivers, including one of the drivers you kept an eye on, Jason Bright, who made it clear he wanted to ride the cushion. They got basically squirreled up after Hunter Crum got stuck along the wall and nowhere for Gephardt to go as he flipped.
Yeah, and I'm no doctor, but it does seem to be that races are a lot easier to win when your car does not go upside down. So that's definitely going to add some difficulty to Roman Gephardt tonight. Also, I am seeing a notation here. They are changing the restarts to single file. They do this from time to time in this series. Usually they like to lean more towards the halfway point of the race that they switch it over. But we've had only a few green flag laps out of the 10 that have been ran so far. So imagine race director Sam Johnson wanting to get these guys in line and get some laps under our belt under green.
And series have done this across the iRacing service to where it is a scene method to have cleaner restarts because it takes an extra lap or so for that hornet's nest, so to speak, to develop to that 3 and 4 wide racing we have seen. But Emerson Axum is in control of the field. Irvine's in second, Stewart in third. Bruno and Rogers round out the top 5. Everyone diamonds the corner to the green flag once more. 29 laps to go here at Kokomo. And already a great launch for Axum. Side by side for second though as Irvine rides the cushion. Stewart prefers the berm of the racetrack as they fight hard for the position.
Yeah, Harry Stewart up to P2 from the land down under. Doing a great job managing this race. Trying to bounce back after a tough go 1 week ago.
Yeah, finished off in 10th in the feature race last week. Brendan Rogers, though, moved up to 3rd position. You see him in that 3rd line at the bottom, but a caution flag is out in turn number 3. Looks like everything's cleared up quickly, but this one involving a car that was spun around, bouncing on its wheels and chase. And pardon me, check that up in terms of it looks like Joey Ancona. No, Hunter Crum. Hunter Crum was it, pardon me. So the 28 machine involved in the second yellow flag the first time, just tapping the cushion in the outside wall this time, losing control, complete. So Crum gets goes spinning around in about a 360, maybe a 720, and as you see here on the exit entrance to turn.
Yeah, really, as far as spins go, it was pretty innocuous. I mean, didn't look like too much damage done. Just went for a loop and kept on going.
Already coming back to green with 23 laps to go. Axum doing the same thing. Everyone follows suit. Green flag back out as Axum rides the berm. Couple drivers just clip the grass, but Harry Stewart got the best run down the berm. Can't get to the inside, pushes up the berm in fact, as he tries to fight for second now. Rogers gets underneath, rides along the berm once more through 1 and 2. Inside the tire tracks now with the race lead as Harry Stewart tries to move up to the cushion, loses the second spot at the halfway mark of the race next time by. And a heck of a run for Rogers so far, Chris. He started in 6th, already up to 2nd spot in that 10 machine. In that 20 machine route.
Well, like we mentioned, the name of the game was going to be keeping your nose clean and managing traffic, and Brennan Rogers has done a superior job of that to just about anybody else on the track. Emerson Axum has run a tremendous race so far, caution on the Speedway.
And an air caution flag. Looking for the official spot as these drivers now will regroup for the yellow flag. It appears a driver over-rotated in turn 3. It was Chase Randall and his black, red, yellow, and white CSI sponsored machine. And you'll see it on your GSRC replay. Just a bit of an over-rotation. Ends up bringing out the yellow flag in turn 3 entry. And an interesting race, to say the very least, as he actually had a bit of help there, Chris.
Well, I guess this would be another time to break out my thank you for being a friend comment from pre-race. Unfortunately, not the kind of friend you want when they are turning your car sideways.
I can't tell if that would be a frenemy or an enemy, so to speak, in terms of that metaphor, but we'll restart with about 15 to go. Lights are already out on top of the iRacing official pace truck. Axum in 1st, Rogers up to 2nd. Stewart Malhoffrey quietly up to 4th position. He's +4 in the race. Round at the top 5 is Austin Irvine. They get all set to go again. What can Rogers do? They're already making contact coming to the green flag. Big time checkup behind Harry Stewart. Malhoffrey hit the back roll bar of this 11 machine as everyone gets slowed up on the bottom side. Rogers tries to run the berm along with Axum as they fight hard for the race lead.
Yeah, that's one advantage when you are the leader on a single file restart, is you can really kind of jackrabbit the start like that, get going, slow it up, and the field has to follow your pace. So in doing that, Emerson Axum able to get the most advantageous start possible just by managing the pace of the rest of the field behind him.
You can see the Hornet's Nest starting to develop already. Drivers nearly making contact. But man, oh man, that fight for the lead, the closest it's been all night. Rogers looking hungry, dead even pace with Axum, tries to move to the middle this time. Can he try and carry some momentum? Coming to 11 laps to go. Both of the drivers in the top 2 prefer the berm of the racetrack. But a man who prefers the cushion is shooting up forward. Austin Irvine charging hard in 3rd. Rogers just followed him up to the cushion, but the caution flag is out once again. This time for Hunter Brady, upside down to the 10 machine. Brady already off the racetrack, and this will put us back in our yellow with under 10 to go, Chris.
This race is definitely cruised by. As you can see, a pretty violent crash there for Hunter Brady, getting pretty high up into the air, which is not where you want your car to be.
Well, there's knocking down the wall, and then there's that. That is using the wall as a launch pad as he goes upside down on the side of his lid and brings up the caution flag. Coming to 8 laps to go, he's already pulled in the tow truck. But it's going to be an interesting restart here. 8 to go, coming to 7. Lights are out on top of the pace car. Axum trying to hold on to the race victory. Rogers in 2nd. 3rd is Irvine. Malhoffrey and Stewart round out your top 5. Back in the low pedal they go. Green flag is out. They make contact as they fight for 3rd position. Rogers slides down to the berm of the racetrack, trying to follow the tire tracks of Axum. Axum moves up to the cushion this time. Multiple drivers try to go for the slide job contact. Rogers around. Caution flag is out. Gets hit by 2 other drivers. And again, we're under yellow. And what could be a potential couple lap shootout. A major mistake as Rogers tried to run up high. But a driver trying the slide job filled the space Rogers wanted to fill off of turn 4.
We mentioned managing traffic and the possibility of a lot of cautions in this race playing a role here, Justin. And it looks like that was the case. A couple of these drivers that were realizing that we didn't have very many laps left tried to put the hammer down, so to speak, and unfortunately did not go their way, with some contact being made, some drivers going around just getting a little overzealous here in the late runnings of this race.
That was Malhoffrey, I believe it was, on the slide job. He has significant Nerf bar damage now. He also has had contact a couple times in third. Pace car is off. 3 laps to go. Axum, Irvine, Malhoffrey, top 3. Contact between the top 2. Green flag is out. 3 laps to decide it. Next flag ends the race. Axum tries to ride the bottom, while Irvine tries to ride the cushion. Who will have the better line is the question for the race win. Irvine carries the momentum, takes the lead for the first time with 2 laps to go. Slider back from Axum as he cuts up the cushion. Can't hold on as Irvine goes back in front. Malhoffrey tries to go for the slider back. White flag is out. Race is official from Kokomo. Irvine tries to keep the cushion. Axum can't get the slide job. Irvine clips the wall, rides around, bumps to the bottom, slides underneath, makes contact with Axum. Irvine wins it from Kokomo. A stellar of a finish to finish things off. Malhoffrey in second. Take a look at this as Irvine nearly threw it away, making contact down the back stretch with the wall.
Yeah, Austin Irvine had to pass probably 4 cars on that last lap after getting into the wall.
Take a look at this. Had some space. And then eventually clipped the wall, but got the run. Did make contact with Axum. But a stellar of a finish for Irvine to take the checker flag here at Kokomo. A heck of a race. Bruno, who started the front, rounds out the top 5. But we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go through your full unofficial race results and begin your post-race coverage. You're watching the CSI Shocks Fall Series 15 and over division, live from Kokomo Speedway. You're watching the Global Sim Racing channel. welcome back everyone to the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the CSI Shocks Fall Series. From Kokomo Speedway, Justin Prince alongside Chris Bobby and Sean Ambrose for what was a stellar show tonight, presented by Competition Suspension Incorporated. Let's take a look at your unofficial race results, where it was Austin Irvine winning his second race in a row. The USAC West Coast driver coming away with a phenomenal finish, with Sean Malhoffrey in second and Emerson Exum in third position. Harry Stewart finished in fourth. Rounding out the top five tonight was Christian Bruno. He led the field to the green flag at the start of the evening. Jake Erickson, a heck of a recovery. Remember, he went around for the first caution flag. He quietly moved up to the sixth position at the checkered flag. Joey Ancona finished in seventh. Chase Randall in eighth, up from 18th from dead last in the field. Jason Bright and Will Sylvester round out your top 10 tonight, Chris. They were the last cars in the lead lap as well.
You have Hunter Crum 1 lap down, came home in 11th, followed by Bo Stenzel. He was 4 laps down at the completion of the event. Kenny Miller, Brennan Rogers, Roman Gephardt, Hunter Brady, Bryson Smith, and Kobe Stidham would complete your field.
That's a look at your unofficial race results here. Your thoughts on the racing action tonight, Chris, because it was a stellar finish, the best finish of the entire season so far in 2019.
You are 100% correct, Justin. That was an amazing finish to that race. Probably a couple more cautions than we would like to see, but the series is doing what they can to keep that managed. And still, when the green flag was out, we had some tremendous racing. And like I said, that finish alone was well worth the price of admission.
Now, the next race on the schedule is at the Chili Bowl. Your expectations as we get ready for the season finale next week on December the 17th.
Well, if you think Kokomo Speedway's tight confines, just wait until you get inside the Expo Center for the Chili Bowl.
It should be an absolutely exciting race for sure. Again, it's been a fun one, to say the very least. Austin Irvine, his second victory in a row. Congratulations once again to him. I'd also like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's exciting action from Kokomo. I'd also like to thank Garrett Andrews for organizing what was and has been a competitive fall series. It was a stellar show tonight, to say the very least. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed up on your screen now. Additional thanks to Jude Wong, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of her great work. Thanks to the team today once again in Chris and Sean. If you'd like to find out more about Global Sim Racing Channel, including its upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can check out our merchandise for sale at gsrc.storenvy.com. Or you can check out our social media at Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel in one word, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. As mentioned, the next race for the 15 and over division is the season finale at the Chili Bowl. That will take place on December the 17th. But don't forget, the 14 and under division takes to Kokomo tomorrow night. Broadcast start time 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We also have plenty of upcoming races for other series listed up on your screen, so check those out and mark them down your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.